hi, it's me again. Back with another episode of 15 Seconds to Ruin Your Beautiful Monday. So, like, maggot milk.
Wonder what she's talking about, maggot milk.
Thanks, Bill Gates.
What? Bill Gates launches maggot milk to feed general public. How y'all feel about this? How do y'all feel about drinking milk from maggots? But first of all, I don't even drink milk from cows. Leave your thoughts in the comments.
Well, we all know how we started from sperm cells, right? Well, I was 8 years old when I found out this little squiggly monster, it turned into our spine and brain. And you know, it kind of makes sense since our brain and our spine is the headquarter. Yeah, for all our limbs, nervous system, and everything else. Like, what did y'all actually think happened when this squiggly monster entered the egg? You see how I could have started from that squiggly monster? Is it making sense now? Like, don't be deceived from all the flesh and the bone that are grown from a cell. We still that one cell, we just grew more onto it. Probably a good reason why, if anything happened to this, you're cooked. Because this is where you all started from, this. And another question is, why am I just now knowing about this?
Probably because he didn't take sex education in middle school. I don't know what's going on, but I thought everybody knew that.
Or was I just like living under a rock or something and everybody else knew about it?
China's humanoid factory is already underway, and you can already tell things are about to get interesting. Even this first one here, at first glance, almost looks like a real person. And just what she's doing here with her hands, which looks kind of like sign language or programming, is a sure indication that things are gonna get crazy.
Man, they got a whole warehouse full of robots. How y'all feel about that? Imagine working there late at night and one of them just come on by accident.
And just by their exteriors, you can tell that this is not meant for you know what, but meant for the workforce. So in the next 10 years, you can expect to see robots serving food, working retail jobs, and even hosting. This guy right here looks like somebody you might even see at the DMV. Everything will become automated, and it'll be with guys like this.
Look like the guy behind the counter at the beauty supply store.
Even the police force, imagine being chased down by her. And on top of that, imagine these being drone operated. So it's not just AI. If it was police, they could go into much dangerous situations more safely. Personally, I think the future is both exciting and scary, but what do you guys think about this?
Humanity's true angelic origins. Yes, you heard that right. Humanity has angelic origins. There is a reason why angels are depicted like humans, but with wings. And there's also a reason why fallen angelics like Satan or Lucifer are depicted with bat-like wings. So the original human beings were created in the image of high-ranking angels called Seraphi Seraphim. Our DNA strand, before it was tampered with, had 48 strand potential. We were extremely powerful beings. We used to look completely different than what we are today. This is because we have been tampered with, our food is being poisoned, our water is being poisoned, our air is being poisoned. You can blame the ones in control for this, which are the fallen angelics. Now, the reason why humans were created in the image of the Seraphi Seraphim is because we were created to help the fallen angelics ascend back to the higher dimensions. The fallen angelics were supposed to take a part of our DNA strand to help themselves, but instead they grew envious. And they have turned the Garden of Eden, which is Earth, into their version of their game, which is our hell. The original human template meant that our Kundalini energy was so powerful that it would burst through our spine and you could physically see a white aura that would spread out like this, and it would actually look kind of like angel wings. Now, the reason why the fallen angelics were depicted with bat wings is because they are from a black hole system called Phantom Matrix that is attached to Earth. Think about it, bats, they live in dark, damp caverns with no sunlight. And what are black holes? It absorbs sunlight, it sucks in everything that requires the light spectrum. Also, if you break down the word human, hue as in color, H-U-E, man, color, man, of the light. We are light beings, and what are fallen angels? Angles of light. The only thing that separates us from them is we are higher frequency and they are lower frequency, so they're higher density. The only way humanity can reach back to our angelic DNA template is if we do the healing, if we do the shadow work, and if we eat healthier, and we embody the Christ consciousness, which is the consciousness of the law of one. We are all one. What they're trying to do, the ones in control, is pit you against each other, so you guys start fighting, but you don't actually see who the real problem is. It's them. Although I'm not religious, the Bible says something very, very true. Satan, or Lucifer, I don't remember who, is jealous of humanity because we are God's favorite creation. And this is because we were created to be like the seraphim. If you watch the movie Avatar with the blue people called the Na'vi, this is honestly kind of like a metaphor for how humanity began to fall. The Garden of Eden hosted the angelic human type, which was supposed to be us. And the fallen angelics came in and infiltrated us to take our energy.
Morbid Facts, Part 287. In 1993, Andre the Giant died in a Paris hotel from heart failure related to his untreated acromegaly.
I used to like Andre the Giant.
Condition that made him so massive in the first place. The 46-year-old wrestler had been in Paris to attend his father's funeral. Edwig was the King of England from 955 to 959. According to history books, he left his coronation feast to have a threesome with his future wife and her mother. He was only 15 at the time. The Altamira Man is an extremely well-preserved fossil of a human that fell down a sinkhole over 100,000 years ago. Discovered in 1993, experts are still working on a way to safely remove the skeleton from the calcite without damaging it. Lieutenant
They need to just leave that alone. Period.
Elmo Dumwalt III died of cancer at age 42 after being exposed to Agent Orange in Vietnam. It was his father, Admiral Elmo Dumwalt, who initially ordered the use of Agent Orange in Vietnam. An estimated 400,000 people have died from exposure to Agent Orange, while 500,000 babies have suffered birth defects.
And that's true, because you can turn on the TV or you can listen to radios and all you hear is, have you been exposed to Agent Orange? Have you served in Vietnam? Like, it's crazy, man, how many people getting carcinogens from this stuff.
I think some of you have been thinking about this, but what is the future of coding? Well, the CEO of Cursor, one of the better AI coding apps out there, just gave a really interesting talk, and he put out 3 predictions for the future of coding and what he's seeing on his side. Let's get into it. First prediction, and the most obvious prediction, is that the future of coding might look a lot more like humans writing pseudocode, which AI interprets and takes from human logic into machine instructions. Second prediction, and the thing that I thought was the most interesting that he brought up, was he doesn't think end-to-end automation with coding is going to happen anytime soon, and that humans will really still play a huge part in the coding and programming and engineering process. Instead, he thinks little AI agents will help around the coding of the project and allow the humans to kind of focus on the big things, which is kind of happening now, but on a more grand scale. And the last prediction, which dovetails nicely from the second one, is that he believes in the next 5 to 6 years, a single engineer will be able to handle the complexity of an engineering project that would take an entire team right now. So what does that?
Well, I can believe that, because with the use of having an AI assistant, it'll make your job easier. It'll actually correct your mistakes in real time, so to speak.
I mean, if you're studying computer science or you're an engineer right now, well, I have 3 things that I think you should start to consider and start to work on. First, start to focus on high-level thinking and creativity. Second, start to think about the entire process of development and engineering. Start to understand all those different facets. And lastly, and I think most important, is be able to understand and possibly start to manage end-to-end an entire project, or at least understand the different pieces, or even some of these areas too, like business and design. So if there were 2 things to take away from this prediction, I would say 1, humans are still an integral part of the entire engineering and programming process, so we are not going to lose that anytime soon. And second, it's important to stay curious, keep learning, and be adaptable.
Somebody tell me what's going on at Coke. This is the 3rd 6-pack that I've gotten that does this. They're not carbonated, and they're flat. Like,
Oh no, I had a couple sodas like that. I tried to take a taste of it and spit it right back out. It's like somebody just shook them up.
If I wanted Pepsi, I would have bought Pepsi. What is happening?
Who is this?
That was right.
Sauce did not do that.
Lemon.
Why is that jiggling like Jello?
My radish was moving like that. Do you see that? What is that?
It looked like a heartbeat.
First of all, I soaked this meat in a vinegar, and yes, it changed color. Like, it went from pink to brown. So I was like, okay, maybe it's just the vinegar that got in there. But why is this beef holographic?
Anybody ever seen an asparagus like this? Check this out. Fresh out the box. Look at this. What the hell happened to this guy? I have never seen
Throw that puppy on the grill. I wonder how that tastes.
an asparagus like that before in my...
Dog, so this used to be an apple. What the fuck is this? This was an apple. Look at the stem.
I could be wrong, but I was under the impression that ice cream would melt after sitting out all night. Now it looks like somebody's shit in my sink that had really bad diarrhea from Taco Bell or maybe White Castle.
They are selling fake avocados in Texas.
A peculiar video surfaced on Instagram recently, courtesy of the account The Confessionals Podcast. The footage, captured in India, shows a truly bizarre scene.
That dude looked pretty bizarre. It looked like it's dropping off something.
Something odd could be seen in the sky.
Y'all let me know in the comments.
The video has sparked a fervent discussion, with viewers speculating on the nature of the strange phenomenon. Many are drawn to its uniqueness, a departure from the typical fare of purported UFO sightings circulating online. As the debate rages on, one question looms large. Does this footage offer genuine evidence of extraterrestrial activity, or are we just seeing some classic CGI trickery? Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments.
What happens when we die? I actually have the answer to the biggest question of all time. Cannot believe I'm actually saying this. So, since the dawn of time, one of the biggest questions has always been, why are we here? What happens when we die? And now, for the last sort of 2 or 3 years, there's been a lot of research being conducted in...
Before he starts, I guess I'll let him carry on with his BS.
Probably seen some of my videos about this where there has been little nuggets of information coming out, but nothing on this level. So back at the start of 2023, there was research conducted on a patient who was still alive, who hadn't passed away, and as he was literally passing away before they managed to shock him back, you can see his brain activity was kind of shutting off, and then it almost looked like it spiked a bit, but they couldn't really do much research from this. The guy, obviously they weren't going to let him die just for some research, so they brought him back, and that was kind of the end of that research, but it was still quite an interesting finding. But now we come on to the research of May 24th, 2024. So a guy had died in hospital, and they monitored his brain activity from just before he passed away to after he passed away. And this is where it gets really interesting with the new tech that they've been able to use. So of course they had this guy kind of wired up, they had the activity in this machine so they could fully see what was going on. What they found was in the 30 seconds before death to the 30 seconds after death, there was a huge, and I mean huge, surge of brain activity. But this is where it gets crazier, because the findings weren't just like a spike in brain activity like he was just passing away. It was a whole spectrum. Now on the side of this, they've been monitoring dreams and people who have been having vivid dreams, lucid dreams for the last few years. So what they did was use the same technology they use on those people, on this guy, and monitored the same brain activity. So the brain activity of this guy who was dying and was dead was the same as somebody who was having a vivid lucid dream. So that means even 30 seconds to a minute after our death, our brain is still active playing memories. Now, more research came out which suggested that around 7 or 8 minutes of brain activity actually is there after you die. And if our brain is spiking that much activity, meaning it is playing memories and actually feeling emotions in that 7 or 8 minutes, what is going on? And
I don't know what 7 or 8 minutes of dreaming probably feel like 70 or 80 years.
This just comes back to the theory that everybody has had for a while of your life flashing before your eyes. But also, when you're dreaming, time's relative, right? Like you can have a dream that feels like an hour, but it's actually only 5 minutes in the real world. So in that 8 or 9 minutes, that could feel like a day, a year, a whole lifetime. And if it's lucid, you can control it, and it's not like rewatching memories, but living a new life. So what's to say that we're not in that state right now?
Man, that snake looked like it already just ate somebody. Man, that snake ain't bothering nobody.
Meu Deus do céu, cara.
Why he picking with the snake? Snake minding his business. This is how people fuck around and find out. Exactly how.
Cold collisions really aren't that violent, but they are loud. Let me explain. Let's use the first ever recorded black hole collision as our example. GW150914 was an event recorded by LIGO and Virgo in September of 2015, and analysis has concluded that it was the result of two inspiraling black holes with a combined mass of 65 solar masses. The event gave off about 3 solar masses worth of energy in the form of gravitational waves. So how dangerous would it really have been? Well, the collision occurred about 1.4 billion light years away, and by the time they got here, the gravitational waves stretched and shrunk spacetime by about 1 part in 10 to the 21, or 1 part in a trillion billions. Now, of course, closer in, the waves would have been stronger. If you get twice as close, the waves get twice as strong. So at about 1,000,000 kilometers away from the event, spacetime would have been stretched and shrunk by about a factor of 1 part in 100,000. Not nearly enough to hurt you. So you'd be fine. But incredibly, you'd hear it, even though there's nothing but vacuum between the black holes and your spaceship. The frequency of the gravitational wave was about 150 Hz, so whatever you hear will be quite low, but definitely in the audible range. Now, the cavity behind your eardrum is a few millimeters long, and so that place would stretch and shrink by about 30 nanometers, meaning that your eardrum would move back and forth that much. Now, according to this chart, at 150 Hz, the eardrum moves about 100 nanometers per Pascal of pressure. So this gravitational wave would move the eardrum the same amount as about 1/3 of a Pascal of air pressure. And that much air pressure corresponds to a volume of about 84 decibels. That's somewhere between a blender and a lawnmower. So your body would be fine, you probably wouldn't even feel it, but you would definitely hear it.
Have you ever felt like your entire life has been a lie? Well, 9 times out of 10, you're starting to wake up and break out the matrix, aka you're starting to go through the stages of a spiritual awakening. Starting off with number 1, you no longer associate with the things that you used to. So everything that you are used to now, it no longer makes sense to you, and everything is so confusing because it's like, why do you not feel like you belong here anymore? Hello, you're no longer the same person. As if that wasn't hard enough. Number 2, it gets deeper. You'll start to lose your friends and your family that you once used to kick it with on a daily basis because they no longer match who you are energetically. That's when life starts to get difficult. Coming in with number 3, you're gonna go through a stage of isolation, aka the dark night of the soul. It's just temporarily, but for a little bit, you'll have to be put alone because the universe wants you to focus on you. When you finally make it out of your worst nightmare, you're like, oh, the nightmare is over. You make it to the new version of you that no one recognizes because you actually become a whole new identity. The final stage. That's when you're gonna have to learn how to deal with how you feel about those situations that you went through before your awakening and during your awakening. The universe, aka the Most High, is going to test you where you learn how to be alone and be a true warrior and walk that walk and talk that talk of everything that you came in and out of the forest with. You learned it, you earned it, you are being.
Hey, Life will send you through journeys, and life will have you getting rid of the loose baggage and everything just so you can go to the next step. So sometimes it might be uncomfortable, but it's worth the wait.
Humanity being played by an evil interdimensional genius? This ex-warlock seems to think so. I'm going to read you a 1-minute excerpt about this spiritual chess game. His kingdom is very well established. He has monitoring spirits, spirits of entrapment, and spirits of hindrance that delay and torment and are afflicting believers in worldwide Church of Jesus Christ. He exploits weaknesses and uses setups that open doors of generational curses. He uses whatever he can use against us. Recognize his setups, his many weapons and methods of attack, including these: dreams of false practices and false realities, strange fire, the mixture of holy with the profane, mystical belief systems that seem credible but are not, occult practices, mind control, oppression on every level, spirit, soul, body, family, finances, relationship, and so on. Satanic doors as means of entry include these following gates: eye gates and ear gates that are open to filth, music, gossip, lies, and so on, what we watch and listen to. Mouth gates are open to what we speak. Other satanic fiery darts involving rejection, unforgiveness, fear, anxiety, sorrow, emptiness, misery, and confusion. It's all part of the devil's playbook. And he wants to open as many doors as possible. The ultimate solution is the blood of Jesus Christ. This ex-warlock talks about it in this book. You can find his testimony online. Pretty fascinating. After casting many spells and tormenting many communities with his Santeria, he realized the ultimate power was Jesus and was more powerful than the demons that he was using. Romans 10:9 says, if you acknowledge and confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Lots of spiritual traps out here. Be careful what you listen to and take as credible. See you next time.